Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I want you to imagine something for a moment. A woman looking at you, not saying a word, but hoping, silently, that you'll do something she'll never actually admit she wants. That moment right there, where her eyes say everything and her mouth says nothing, is where most men lose connection without even realizing it. And today, I'm going to pull you straight into that hidden world. Before we go deeper, make sure you subscribe and like this video, because what you're about to learn will change the way you understand women forever. Here's the truth most men never hear. Women want things emotionally, psychologically, and relationally that they do not verbalize. Not because they're manipulative, but because vulnerability is terrifying for them. They wait for men to pick up on the signals, the energy, the tone. And when men miss those cues, she never says, "I wish you had done this." Instead, she simply feels unseen. And that feeling, right there, is where distance begins. Most men are taught to listen to what women say, but women communicate in layers. What she says, what she hints at, and what she quietly hopes you'll understand without her spelling it out. The problem is, men aren't given the psychological blueprint for decoding those quiet desires. No one teaches you this. No one tells you what she secretly craves from you on a level deeper than physical attraction or casual conversation. But let me pull back the curtain a little. Women secretly want men to show gentle leadership, not control, not domination, but grounded, steady presence. The kind where she feels safe, not because you're loud or forceful, but because you move with intention. She doesn't say this because society tells her she must appear independent at all times. Yet deep down, she wants a man who can take initiative without making her feel small. She also wants admiration, not the exaggerated compliments men think women want, but the sincere, observant kind. When she puts effort into something and you notice without her pointing it out, she feels valued in a way she'll never verbalize. Women want to feel like their emotional effort matters to the man they're giving it to. There's more, far more, because every silent desire she carries shapes the way she loves, withdraws, tests, trusts, or shuts down. And once a man understands these hidden desires, he stops guessing and starts connecting. He stops reacting and starts leading. And she responds in ways that feel almost magical. Let me take you even deeper, because what I'm about to tell you isn't something women will ever say out loud, but it's what they are craving at the core. Women want emotional courage from the men they love. Not bravado, not fake confidence, but the type of courage that lets you face discomfort, admit mistakes, and speak your truth even when it's hard. They're silently testing whether you can handle vulnerability while staying grounded, because if you can't, she senses instability, even if she never mentions it. Here's a hard truth. Women watch how you behave in moments that seem insignificant to you. How you treat a waiter, how you respond to minor setbacks, how you keep your composure when things don't go your way. All of this speaks volumes. Women may not say, "I want you to be kind and disciplined," but they feel it. And if you ignore these silent cues, you create distance without realizing it. You miss the opportunity to become the man she genuinely wants, someone whose presence feels like stability, magnetism, and security all at once. They also want a man who recognizes emotional labor, the subtle, invisible effort she puts into keeping things smooth, pleasant, or connected. It's not just about romantic gestures. It's about noticing when she's carrying weight, when she's stressed, when she's quietly anxious. The men who succeed are the ones who see without being told, who step in with care instead of empty words. Women crave acknowledgement and action, even in the smallest forms. Making coffee in the morning without being asked, sending a text that shows attention to detail, remembering a tiny preference she mentioned in passing. These actions communicate value far more than words ever could. And then there's the unspoken desire for emotional resonance. Women want men who can mirror their feelings without judgment. When she's frustrated, lonely, or overwhelmed, she doesn't always want solutions. She wants to feel understood, validated, and held psychologically. Most men jump straight into problem-solving mode, thinking that fixes the issue. But the truth is, the man who quietly aligns with her emotions without losing his own center is the man she respects, admires, and ultimately craves. Here's the kicker. These desires are entirely unspoken. If you try to extract them through conversation, you'll likely miss the point. It's about perception, intuition, and presence. Women are wired to notice who can read the spaces between words, and when a man masters that, he doesn't just attract. They feel a deep, magnetic pull toward him that goes beyond physical attraction or charm. That's the subtle power few men ever understand. Now let's talk about a truth that will make some men uncomfortable because it goes against everything society tells you about dating and relationships. Women secretly want initiative, but not the shallow, aggressive kind you see in movies or on social media. They want a man who acts decisively, who creates direction without arrogance, and who makes choices that make her feel seen, cared for, and guided. They won't say, "Take the lead," but every fiber of their being notices when a man hesitates or deflects responsibility. Hesitation breeds doubt. Decisive presence breeds trust. Think about it this way. Every decision you make, small or large, is a statement of who you are. Choosing the restaurant, planning the day, or even deciding how to handle conflict shows her that you're not just drifting through life. Women are wired to notice patterns. They can feel the difference between a man who takes action because he's thoughtful and intentional versus one who acts only out of obligation or performative masculinity. The first ignites attraction, the second creates indifference. Women also crave the kind of attention that is rare in modern dating. They want you to truly see them, not just their looks, not just their social persona, but their inner rhythms, their moods, and their subtle expressions. When you catch a glance she thought went unnoticed, when you remember a detail she casually mentioned weeks ago, she experiences validation on a subconscious level. That's why men who pay attention in ways that feel effortless become irresistible. It's not grand gestures, it's the psychological tuning in that matters most. Here's another layer many men completely miss. Women secretly desire a partner who is emotionally self-sufficient. They want someone who has his own passions, boundaries, and values, yet can integrate them with hers without compromising his essence. The paradox is that independence is incredibly attractive when paired with emotional availability. Too much neediness repels, too much detachment confuses. Mastering this balance makes you magnetic in ways most men don't even understand. Finally, women crave authenticity in communication. They don't just want honesty, they want truth spoken with emotional intelligence. They notice when a man sugarcoats, manipulates, or avoids expressing his real thoughts. But when you speak truth calmly, confidently, and without aggression, it communicates security, strength, and respect simultaneously. That is the silent language that draws women closer than words ever could. When a man internalizes these hidden desires, he stops guessing and starts naturally becoming the man she's been silently hoping for all along. It's not about tricks or manipulation. It's about understanding the psychology she can't or won't verbalize. It's about becoming the subtle force in her life that she can't resist. Here's a truth most men completely overlook. Women secretly want consistency over excitement, but not in the way you think. They don't want predictability that's boring. They want a steady emotional anchor. They want a man whose behavior is reliable, whose moods aren't dictated by fleeting impulses, and whose presence feels like a solid foundation even in chaos. Most men think spontaneity equals attraction, but without emotional consistency, excitement feels shallow and fleeting. The man who combines intrigue with stability is the one who becomes unforgettable. Women also desire subtle displays of strength, the kind that isn't loud or aggressive but quietly unshakable. They notice how you handle stress, conflict, and disappointment. They watch how you respond when life pushes back. When you maintain calm and rationality, they feel safety on a deep, instinctive level. This isn't about being stoic or suppressing emotion. It's about demonstrating control over your own mind and reactions, which tells her without words, "I can handle myself, and I can handle us." That silent competence creates trust and attraction faster than any verbal assurance ever could. Another layer, women secretly crave men who make them feel desired without objectifying them. There's a subtle difference that men often miss. It's not about compliments on looks or shallow flattery. It's about attention to her essence. Noticing the way she lights up when talking about a passion, remembering small things she values, recognizing her intellect or humor. These are the forms of validation she doesn't ask for, but deeply wants. They signal that you are seeing her in a holistic way, appreciating the layers that most men ignore. They also want men who can challenge them gently, respectfully, and intelligently, not in a combative way, but in a way that expands their thinking, their comfort zone, and their perspective. Women respect men who aren't afraid to disagree with grace or to push boundaries thoughtfully. That challenge creates mental and emotional tension, which fuels connection in ways casual kindness never can. The balance between challenge and care is delicate, but mastering it is magnetic. Finally, women want presence more than they want words. A simple gesture, a focused conversation, or undivided attention can speak louder than hours of talk or 1,000 gifts. The men who master presence understand that attraction isn't built on noise, it's built on depth. They are fully engaged, observant, and emotionally responsive, and she senses that immediately. That's the invisible pull that makes her feel safe, valued, and intrigued all at once. When a man embodies consistency, subtle strength, authentic attention, intelligent challenge, and presence, he naturally aligns with the desires women keep hidden. He becomes someone they subconsciously seek, trust, and feel drawn to, without needing to say a single word. Now let's dive into something most men completely misunderstand. Women secretly want emotional initiative from their partners, not grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but the quiet, attentive effort to notice shifts in mood, energy, and unspoken needs. When she's stressed, anxious, or quietly upset, she often expects you to sense it without a single word. She may smile, nod, or even laugh, but beneath the surface, she's silently longing for you to step in, to act in a way that shows you truly see her. Most men miss this entirely, thinking only words count. Women crave reassurance, but not through hollow phrases like, "I love you" or "you're amazing." They crave nuanced reassurance, moments when you reflect her feelings back, validate her struggles, and maintain your own calm. It's the type of emotional literacy that many men never develop because it requires subtlety, patience, and psychological insight. When you notice and respond to her without her having to prompt you, you become more than a partner. You become a safe harbor in a world full of uncertainty. Another secret desire: women want men to lead emotionally, not dominate. They want guidance, stability, and decision-making without feeling controlled. This means taking the initiative in planning dates, conversations, or problem-solving, but doing it in a way that respects her autonomy and intelligence. She may never say, "Lead me," but she feels it instinctively. When a man embodies quiet authority combined with empathy, he creates a magnetic pull that is both comforting and irresistible. They also crave emotional honesty. This doesn't mean unloading every thought or venting negativity. It means expressing your true feelings with clarity and integrity. Women can detect insincerity from a mile away. When you are emotionally transparent, she feels connected, respected, and valued. Emotional honesty, coupled with steady presence, builds a trust that is almost impossible to break. Finally, women desire subtle romance in everyday life. Not staged events or expensive gifts, but small, thoughtful actions that show attention to her inner world. Remembering how she likes her coffee, sending a message that recalls a shared memory, or simply listening deeply without distraction. These are the gestures that make her feel cherished without words. They signal attentiveness, care, and understanding, all of which she rarely articulates but deeply yearns for. Mastering emotional initiative, subtle leadership, honesty, and everyday romance positions you as the man she's been silently hoping for. You stop guessing, you stop performing, and you start connecting on a level that transcends superficial attraction. This is how men move from ordinary to unforgettable in her mind and heart. Now let's uncover the final layer of what women secretly want but never say, a level of connection that most men never even notice exists. Women long for a partner who can create emotional safety while also igniting desire. It's a paradox, but it's at the core of why some men are unforgettable while others fade into background noise. Emotional safety means she feels she can reveal her fears, her vulnerabilities, and even her doubts without being judged or dismissed. Desire means she senses your strength, passion, and presence as a man, which naturally pulls her in. Balancing these two creates an invisible bond she cannot articulate but deeply feels. Women also secretly want recognition for their efforts, not just in grand, obvious ways, but in the quiet, everyday moments. When she organizes, plans, cares, or even just manages her own emotional world, she hopes the man she's with notices. It doesn't need to be verbalized. She just wants the subtle acknowledgement, the small signs that her energy matters to you. Men who pick up on these cues without her asking instantly elevate themselves in her eyes. That silent validation communicates respect, understanding, and intimacy simultaneously. Another hidden desire is admiration, not the shallow, you look great type, but admiration for her mind, her resilience, and her unique qualities. Women want to feel valued for who they are, not just what they bring to the relationship or how they appear. When a man observes her intelligently, celebrates her growth, and genuinely expresses respect for her inner world, it triggers attraction on a deep, almost instinctual level. She may never say, "I need you to admire me," but she feels it powerfully. Women also crave a partner who matches their emotional energy without being reactive. When she is overwhelmed, frustrated, or excited, she wants a man who can mirror and complement her energy. Someone who doesn't escalate tension but also doesn't dampen her fire. This balance is subtle but transformative. It demonstrates that you can be both present and grounded, engaged yet steady. That's the type of emotional harmony that makes her feel truly understood, cherished, and drawn to you. Finally, she desires consistent effort over time. She wants a man who shows care, attention, and initiative day after day, not only when it's convenient or dramatic. This consistency, small, meaningful, and sustained, is the invisible glue that binds attraction, trust, and intimacy together. When you embody all these qualities, emotional safety, subtle recognition, genuine admiration, energy harmony, and consistent effort, you become the man she has silently been longing for, the one who exists in her heart even before words can capture it. Understanding these secret desires doesn't just change how women see you. It transforms the way you connect, attract, and lead in relationships. You stop guessing. You start embodying the man she actually wants, the one she can't resist, and the one she will remember long after everything else fades.